Hi there. Welcome back to Temptation's Ballad. It's been a bit of a while, thank you all very much for your patience. But we're back, and we're ready to continue where we left off, with our three idiots at the fighting ring, still in pursuit of the crown and the rubies. As usual, 18 plus visual novel. Standard rules apply, you know them all at this point. Let's not waste any time. Let's just dive right back into Temptation's Ballad, will we? Because I've been very excited for this one. Lights, camera, action. Halfway through the intermission break, Artemi was surprised to see a familiar, large crocodile approach their table. Val's massive frame cut through the crowd and cast a looming shadow over them like a mountain at high noon. Despite the fact that Sid stood at a similar height, the crocodile's mere presence seemed to dwarf him in comparison. Artemi stiffened as Val's eyes studied them closely.
May we help you?
Pardon my intrusion. I have been watching you two.
The large fighter nodded towards each of them, respectfully.
You are a strong and capable young man. And you, a sincere and honorable young knight. I don't understand why good folk such as yourselves decided to work for a man like Clyde Bonebreaker. Why associate yourselves with a leech that blatantly profits off of others' hard work and is spoiled off of his father's success?
Artemi and Sid exchanged perturbed glances. This was rather out of the blue.
Well, he's my new boss and all. And I always dreamed of working for Marrow Bonebreaker. Cool's like one step closer to my hero.
Val scoffed.
Then you are better off working for Marrow directly. At least Marrow is a truly strong and honorable man. I can respect that. His son, on the other hand, is a joke. I have no doubt that Clyde has already lulled you into a disadvantageous contract or unfavorable working conditions.
Sid stuttered for a moment and fell silent. Val turned towards Artemi.
And you? Why has an honorable knight of the church stooped to working with scum like Clyde?
Artemi glowered at him.
And why do you ask, sir?
Simply out of concern for your well-being, young lady. Wouldn't want good folk like you to be tricked by questionable characters.
Artemi stood up from her seat and glared up at Val solemnly.
I believe I am capable of judging one's character on my own, thank you.
Sid glanced anxiously between the two and tugged on her sleeve.
Hey, maybe we shouldn't try to piss off the toughest guy here.
Artemi shrugged him off.
For example, I believe you do not care for me nor my comrade's well-being. You are simply acting out of contempt for Sir Cole. This is a quality I find more untrustworthy than anything he has done thus far.
The crocodile's brow furrowed into a deep scowl. The air grew heavy as Artemi and Val glared into each other's eyes with fierce intensity. Sid shrunk in his seat, watching the two apprehensively. Suddenly, Val broke into a hearty laugh and slapped Artemi playfully on the shoulder.
There's quite a spine on this one. If you face Clyde with that same attitude, I suppose I have nothing to worry about. You, on the other hand.
Val turned towards Sid, who had nearly disappeared under the table during their confrontation.
You had better watch out for yourself. The world is not kind to soft warriors.
With a satisfied smile, the large crocodile turned around and retreated from their table. Artemi and Sid watched him leave with uncertain looks.
What a strange man.
Was that a test of some sort? I'm getting real mixed messages from the guy. He seems to have real beef with the boss. Well, I wonder what Cole did to piss him off so much.
That is a tale we can ask of Sir Cole once he returns with the crown.
Artemi took a deep breath and sank back into her seat.
Oh, I almost lost my cool there for a moment. I must train harder to control my temperament. When that man spoke so crudely of Sir Cole, I felt my blood boil.
You think there's any merit to what Val was saying? About Cole?
I do not know their history, but Sir Cole has been very kind to me during our brief acquaintance. I will see to it that no one dishonours his reputation.
Artemi glanced at Sid doubtfully.
Do you believe there is truth to Val's words?
Well, it's true that the boss got a little heated when talking about the terms of my employment. But that's probably because he wanted to make sure I didn't spill the beans about his magic casting to his dad. And he didn't act very heroically when that street urchin kid jumped into our wagon asking for help. But that's also probably because he realised the kid stole stuff. Oh, I don't know. This is all too deep for a guy like me. In either case, Cole's been good to me. He took a chance and formed an adventuring party with me when no one else would. I trust him.
Artemi nodded in agreement.
I share the same sentiment. Let us put Val's doubtful words behind us and focus on today's mission, lest we become distracted.
Oh, speaking of which, boss has been gone for a long time. I wonder what's taken so long.
Do you think he ran into trouble during his search?
Maybe. He told us not to worry about it, but I guess it wouldn't hurt to check. You stay here and watch over our stuff. I'll go find him.
Very well. Do give me a shout if you run into danger, Sir Sid.
Will do.
Meanwhile, in Clyde's office, the air was thick with the scent of sweat and sex. The large tiger let out a hearty laugh as he lounged on the couch with Cole resting on his lap.
Oh, this is why you're my favourite visitor around here. I'm glad we stayed friends after our little fling didn't work out.
Cole rolled his eyes as he nuzzled under Clyde's chin. This again? It wasn't that serious to begin with.
True, but I miss just talking to you about things without worry.
Clyde chuckled and ran his hand gently through Cole's hair.
Oh, you're horrible for my health, but boy, are you fun.
Cole felt a slight sliver of guilt slither through his chest as he looked up at his friend. Yeah, I sure am. He sat up from his snuggling and pinched Clyde's cheeks in a seemingly playful manner. Sorry about this, pal.
Huh?
Cole pressed his fingers against either side of his friend's temples, and the sparkling static of magic flowed through them. Charm person. Arcane static crackled from Cole's fingertips as Clyde's eyes rolled into the back of his head. The large tiger slumped against the couch limply with a groan.
Why do I feel so woozy?
Clyde's voice was slurred and sluggish as though fully intoxicated. That sliver of guilt grew in Cole's chest, but he swallowed it down. Don't worry. This is all just a dream. You'll forget this ever happened soon enough. I'm going to ask you some questions, okay?
Anything you want, my little coleslaw. I miss you so much. Why did you leave me?
Cole groaned and buried his face in his hands. This was a little more difficult than he expected. He took a deep breath and steadied himself. Come on, focus. He's got a job to do. You got your hands on a black crown earlier today, didn't you? Where is it? Clyde giggled.
Right over here, coleslaw. I didn't know you liked this kind of fancy shit.
Clyde stumbled off of the couch and drunkenly made his way towards the corner of his office. He ran his hands over the brick walls and pressed against an oddly spaced stone. Suddenly, the wall rumbled as several bricks slid away to reveal a hidden vault. Clyde fumbled with the lock on the vault and it opened to reveal a large obsidian crown inside.
Here you go.
Cole yelped as the crown was tossed carelessly at him. Well, I got what I came for. That was easier than I thought, huh? Cole stared at the obsidian crown in his hands. There were large, empty sockets where jewels were previously present. Hey, the Night Lady said that this thing had, 4 big rubies on it. Where do they go? Clyde let out another loopy laugh as he sauntered onto the couch.
We took them out to sell separately. It's a lot more profitable that way.
Fuck, really? Where are all the rubies now?
One of them was snatched up by a buyer right off the bat. Don't know who the buyer actually is, though. They sent a middleman to make the purchase for a pretty penny. I made several months' worth of profit off of this one deal.
This isn't good.
Weirdest thing. The biggest gem out of the 4 disappeared from right under our noses. We spent hours looking for it, but it's so nowhere to be found. It's like the darn thing grew legs and snuck away. Val's real pissed. That gem was the biggest one. We could have made so much gold off of it.
What about the last 2 gems? Don't tell me you lost those 2.
Oh no. Val's holding on to the last 2 for safekeeping. Said he didn't trust me to hang on to them, that fucker.
Cole took a deep breath and closed his eyes to ponder the situation. This complicates things. It's going to be harder to pry the crown off of Val. Cole's charm person spell was too weak to work on someone so suspicious of him. Val's got a bit of a gambling problem though, so maybe... Clyde suddenly let out a groan and rubbed his temples.
My head hurts. Why is the world spinning so much?
Oh, hold on. I got you. Cole rushed to the tiger's side and gently helped him to a more comfortable position on the couch. He brushed his hand against Clyde's cheek softly. Thanks for your help, big guy. Why don't you take a little nap? Clyde instantly yawned. His eyes fluttered with drowsiness as he stared up at Cole, unfocused.
I'm glad I could help. I love you, my little cousin.
The tiger yawned again before slowly drifting off to sleep. Cole felt hollow. He brushed Clyde's forehead gently and leaned down to plant a soft kiss on his cheek. It's better that you left me. You deserve someone a little more honest anyway. Thumping footsteps in the hallway suddenly snapped Cole out of his thoughts. A soft voice called out behind the door.
Is this that Clyde dude's office? Hello, boss? You in there?
The door swung open before Cole could even respond.
There you are. I thought... Sid's eyes almost bulged out of his head as he caught sight of a very naked Cole on top of an equally nude and snoozing Clyde. His gaze shifted rapidly from their exposed bodies to the dripping trail of wetness that was still leaking between Cole's legs. A red hue slowly enveloped the badger's face as his jaw hung open in shock. Cole groaned as Sid stood frozen in the doorway for several long moments.
Are you just gonna keep staring? Either join in or get out of here.
Huh? Of course not! I'm not gay! Sorry for interrupting! Sid immediately leapt for the door and slammed it shut behind him. Wow. Artemi glanced up from their table to see Sid barreling towards her in utter panic.
Sir Sid, your face is so red. Are you feeling unwell?
I'm fine. Everything is absolutely fine.
Are you certain? You look as red as a tomato.
What's all this racket about? The two of them looked up to see Cole squeezing through the crowd while adjusting his loincloth.
Oh, Sir Cole. It is good to see you return safely. It appears there's something wrong with Sir Sid.
I'm perfectly okay. Despite his insistence, Sid's face was indeed flushed red. His eyes darted with sideways glances towards Cole, especially towards the faint trail of white still leaking between his legs. Cole gave the badger a sly grin and a wink.
Say something you like.
What? No! Why would I be interested in that kind of stuff? I'm not gay.
Artemi frowned in confusion. I can't ever read this. For context, this is my favorite joke in this entire VN at large, where gay equals happy, and Artemi misunderstands the two constantly.
Why are you unhappy, Sir Sid? Did something upsetting happen?
At this point, Sid's mind appeared to shut down entirely as he gaped blankly. Everyone stop paying attention to me! Boss, did you find what you were looking for? Cole tried to stifle a laugh at the badger's breakdown.
Kinda. He pulled out a small canvas bag from his belt. Alrighty nighty, I got some good news and some bad news. The good news is that I found your weird crown. He glanced around to make sure no one was looking before pulling open the bag. Hidden inside was the large obsidian crown he grabbed from Clyde.
My! You found it! Excellent job, Sir Cole. I can't thank you enough.
Can we talk about something? This thing looks evil, right? What's the prince of the royal family doing with something like this? Artemi frowned, confused.
I cannot judge, as I am unfamiliar with the fashion trends of the masses.
Maybe the prince is going through an emo phase?
Cole squinted at the crown suspiciously. I guess so. It's still a bad look for a future king to wear a big black evil crown, though.
I'm having a hard time taking fashion advice from a guy who's barely wearing any clothes. No offense, boss. Cole clutched his chest and looked deeply hurt.
It's comfy. All of the guys back in the Bonebreaker Mercenary Company dress like this.
All of them? Wait, if I'm working for you guys, does that mean I have to dress like this too?
If you want to. I'm sure you'd look great in a loincloth.
Sid spluttered incoherently for a full minute before sinking under the table to hide his reddening face. Artemi, oblivious to this entire exchange, peered into the bag with a frown.
Oh, wait a moment. Where are the rubies on the crown?
Oh, that's the bad news I was talking about. Clyde said they removed them to sell separately. They lost the biggest ruby, and an anonymous buyer snagged another one. Luckily, Val's still holding on to the last two.
What? But that's half of the jewels! You mean to tell me that 2 of the rubies are long gone? How will I explain this to the Knight Commander?
Hey now, pull yourself together. There's no use stressing out about something outside your control. Let's just focus on what we can do for now. In this case, getting our hands on those last 2 gems with Val. Artemi took a deep breath in an attempt to steady herself.
Yes, you're right. However, this Val character has been acting rather hostile towards you, Sir Cole. Convincing him to depart with these rubies will not be a simple task.
You're right about that. Val does have a big gambling problem, though, and he's got a pretty big ego in the fighting ring. We might be able to use this to our advantage. Cole tapped his chin thoughtfully. I think I might have a plan. It's kinda half-baked, but it'll have to do.
Whatever the case, I trust in your judgment, Sir Cole.
Alrighty. You ready for another round of fights, Sid? Sid? Where did he go? The large badger had crawled underneath their table with his head resting on his knees, muttering frantically to himself.
I'm not gay. I'm into the ladies. What would Mom say if she found out? On second thought, she'd probably be fine with it, but still. He's kinda a cute guy. I'm definitely not into him, though. He's just got a round and fluffy face. Why does my face smell so hot? What in the world is going into me?
Cole gently knocked on the top of their table. Yo, you done hyperventilating there, buddy? I know the view down there is nice, but we got a job to do.
Oh!
Sid glanced up from his position underneath their table to see that Cole had spread his legs and was gyrating his hips teasingly in his face. His loincloth left little to the imagination. Sid felt his heart thump rapidly in his chest as his mind wandered into dangerous unknown territory. I have a bad history with those 2 lines in sequence, and I'm not going to explain it any further than that.
What? I swear I'm not peeping!
The badger stood up so quickly that his head bashed into the other side of their table and knocked the entire thing over. Artemi stared at him with confused curiosity, while Cole frantically grabbed for his tankard of mead before it spilled everywhere. Sid felt his blood pressure rising as the people around them stared at him.
Sir Sid, you have been acting very strange. Are you feeling well? I'm happy to supply you with more healing spells.
I'm fine. Just thinking about stuff and things.
Cole gulped down his tankard of ale and slammed his drink onto the lopsided table with a satisfied sigh. Come on, that's enough sputtering out of you, big guy. You can go through your identity crisis later. We've got a fight to finish. Val yawned as he scanned over the fighting ring's schedule. Where the hell was Clyde? He was supposed to help organize all the fighters this afternoon. Val could use the help, especially after that last-minute arrival swept through the competition. The crocodile glanced up warily at the sound of footsteps approaching his table.
Go away.
Oh, come on, Val. Can't you hear me out for just one moment?
Your very presence is trying my patience. Be gone, unless you have official fighting ring business.
As a matter of fact, I do. Cole grabbed a shy Sid by the hem of his shirt and dragged him over to the table. My fighting buddy here has been tearing through all your fighters like nothing. Don't you think it's time he got his hands on a real challenge? Val remained silent. You are the fighting ring's strongest contender. Are you ready to face my buddy in the ring? Or are you too scared after seeing him demolish everyone else? Sid flinched as Val glanced up at him, unimpressed.
The kid's got raw strength, but no technique. He is not worth my time. I only fight the strong.
Val turned back to his scheduling sheet.
Now leave me be. Neither of you have anything worth betting on anyway.
Cole immediately tossed down his entire sack of gold from Sid's winnings. All the gamblers in the crowd suddenly lit up at the sight of gold coins spilling across Val's table.
This was their chance to win back all their losses.
Everyone in the room quieted down and watched Val's reaction intently. Looks like the crowd is pretty interested in seeing this happen. Wouldn't want to disappoint your fans, would you? Val glared with disgust.
Quality Bonebreaker. You did not earn a single copper of these winnings. Typical. Stealing others' hard work and using them to your own benefit without a single risk to yourself. You are everything I despise about the weak and spineless. My answer to your challenge remains the same. Now, leave!
Val's words stung harder than he expected. Sid crouched down next to Cole with a look of concern.
Hey, boss. You okay?
Not really. We don't have anything to bet against Val for the rubies. No, risk my ass. It's not like I have anything on me that's worth. Cole suddenly fell silent, his expression conflicted. Maybe. His hands hovered reluctantly for a moment before he reached up to grasp his loot. Val stared as Cole quietly placed his newly gifted loot onto the table.
What am I supposed to do with this?
It's a very nice loot.
Yes. I see you fiddling with one often when your father comes here to fight. This one appears brand new. A gift? You certainly seem reluctant to part with it.
Even now, Cole's hands twitched as though resisting the urge to snatch it back. My old one broke. Papa gifted me this new one this morning. A nasty smile spread across the crocodile's face.
Very well. I accept your challenge.
Huh? The crowd surrounding them murmured doubtfully. Betting over a little loot? That can't be worth it. Val's serious face melted into a dark sneer.
The prize is not this little loot. My prize upon victory is seeing Quality Bonebreaker's crestfallen face upon losing it. That constant smug grin on your face is sickening. It shall be refreshing to see it dance a new tune.
His smile widened upon seeing Cole grimace. And what will you be betting in exchange? It's gotta be something you're equally unwilling to let go of, at least. Val hesitated for a moment before reaching into his pocket and tossed out a single, large, red ruby. It shone brilliantly despite the dim lighting of the fighting ring as it tumbled onto the table. Wow, that's a pretty big gem you got there. You sure you're okay with betting that against a little old loot?
Unlike you, Colony Bonebreaker, I am a man of honesty and honor. It will be impossible for me to lose against an amateur like your new badger friend. May this gem represent my confidence in your defeat.
Val leaned forward, his smile widened to show an abundance of sharp teeth.
I look forward to sharing the news of your loss with your father.
The large crocodile grabbed Cole's loot off of the table and tossed it back to him.
Why don't you hold on to your toy just a little longer before you lose it forever?
With a laugh, the larger man made his way towards the judge's table to arrange their new fight. Cole grasped his loot tightly. It's just a loot. Why was he getting so worked up over this? All things considered, this exchange was wildly in his favor. Even still, Cole imagined explaining to his father why his new loot went missing, and felt a little sick. As the judges began rearranging the schedule to fit in Cole's sudden challenge, Cole sat in the back of the room in sullen silence. Artemi and Sid approached him with mutual looks of concern.
Sir Cole, are you quite all right?
Oh, I'm fine. It's just a damn loot. It's worth nothing compared to a big old ruby, right?
Sure, but you're still allowed to feel bad about it.
Sid cracked his knuckles and nodded with determination.
I crushed all those other fighters, and I'll crush Val too. You don't have to worry about losing your stuff with me around.
The edge of Cole's mouth twitched into a smile. Thanks, man. Say, that last charge of bardic inspiration has worn off already, hasn't it? Here, let me... Cole leaned up to plant a tender kiss on Sid's cheek. The badger flushed red, but did not resist it. Try not to lose, all right? Sid nodded fiercely.
It's your honor on the line. I won't fail you, boss.
Artemi walked up to Sid with a smile.
I am certain there are rules against this, but it can't be wrong to support my comrades, could it? Here. Bless.
Artemi clasped her hands together and closed her eyes. Golden light poured from her palms and enveloped Sid. His fur stood on end as Sid suddenly felt himself buzzing with holy energy. His entire body felt strangely jittery, as though he had consumed several cups of coffee.
Whoa! I feel even stronger than before. Did I get more buff or something? What kind of spell was that?
It's just a simple bless spell. It acts similarly to Sir Cole's bardic inspiration, except it only lasts about a minute or so. It is much more potent, however. Do your best, Sir Sid. We shall exchange high fives once you achieve victory.
Just watch. That Val guy's gonna be eating his words once I wipe the floor with him. Thanks for all the help, guys. I won't let you down.
With renewed vigor, Sid charged towards the fighting ring in a determined scramble. Artemi couldn't help but chuckle at the sight. She turned towards Cole to see him clutching his loot tightly with an air of sullen defeat. Anxious thoughts seemed to cloud the hyena's mind. Artemi frowned, worried. She hesitantly placed a comforting hand on Cole's shoulders and offered an encouraging smile.
That loot. Well, it appears to be a simple instrument. I see that it holds great value to you. It was very brave and honourable of you to put the things you treasure on the line. I pray our efforts will do your risk justice.
Cole laughed quietly. Nobody's accused me of being honourable before. Artemi chuckled.
Indeed. I hear you have quite the reputation, Sir Cole. However, throughout our short time together, you have done everything to try and aid me in my plight and comfort me in distress. Your effort and kindness do not go unrecognised. Worry not, Sir Cole. We will make sure to achieve victory for you. Now let's go cheer on Sir Sid.
Artemi gave Cole another firm pat on the back before making her way towards the fighting ring. The next match was about to start. That gnawing guilt in Cole's chest resurfaced as he felt the warmth of Artemi's hand leave his shoulder. Val was right. What is someone like you doing with scum like me? The air was thick with tension as the crowd gathered around the fighting ring for what was perhaps the most polarizing fight of the day. Sid Shrikewood, the startlingly strong rookie, against Val, the ring's persisting champion. Artemi and Cole watched from the sidelines as the two readied themselves in preparation for the battle. Sid was shifting weight from one leg to another, bouncing on his feet restlessly, while waiting for the judge's signal. Val simply stood, unmoving, like a statue, his glare focused and undisturbed. The crowd was practically vibrating in anticipation. Cole gripped the rope surrounding the ring anxiously. He didn't like these odds. Luckily, he took some precautions and set up a backup plan in case they lost, but... Cole jumped out of his thoughts at the sensation of a comforting hand settling on his shoulder. Artemi gave him a reassuring smile.
Worry not, Sir Cole. I have faith in Sir Sid's chances for a successful victory.
Artemi suddenly jerked her head back, her eyes narrowed suspiciously. She sniffed the air as though tracking a faint scent.
Did you just feel that?
Huh? Feel what?
That scent. It was very... bad.
Sounds pretty normal. This place isn't exactly the peak of good hygiene.
No, I mean, it was utterly foul. Like the faintest hint of some sort of horrid magic.
Artemi glanced about the crowd and sniffed again.
Almost necrotic in nature.
Cole frowned. Necrotic magic? Well, I doubt anyone here is educated enough for complicated spells like that. The shrill shriek of the judge's whistle reverberated through the room, cutting off their thoughts. Sid and Val approached each other and exchanged solemn glares. The fight begins. Sid immediately charged at Val with a blistering tackle, but was dodged by an idle sidestep. With a sweep of his foot, the crocodile sent Sid tumbling into a brick wall from his own momentum. Clutching his head in pain, Sid rolled over and narrowly dodged a foot stomping down on him. Sid scrambled onto his feet and tried to catch his breath. The magic from both Cole and Artemi coursed through his veins. His senses felt sharp and focused, but his pounding heart made concentration rather difficult. His opponent regarded him coolly. Val slowly approached him without a care in the world.
You've got spirit, kid, and decent strength to boot. But not all fights are won from strength alone.
You're talking an awful lot for someone who's pretending not to care. Sid charged again and swung with his fists, and then a kick. Growling with frustration, he tried punching yet again. Each and every one of his strikes was evaded with either a small sidestep or a lean backwards. For such a large and bulky man, he certainly was dexterous. Val hardly moved from his position as he weaved between Sid's strikes with ease. Suddenly, he stepped forward and landed a solid kick straight into Sid's abdomen. Sid felt all the air leave his lungs. He dropped to the ground at Val's feet, coughing and hacking as he struggled to regain his breath. A foot suddenly slammed downwards into the small of his back, crushing him into the stone floor. Sid struggled in vain to get up, but remained pinned by Val's foot and body weight. The crocodile shook his head with disappointment.
You've got potential. Shame you'd waste it by working with Clyde.
Sid snarled and swung his arm backwards, elbowing Val in the back of the knee. The crocodile's foot buckled as he lost his balance and fell forward. Sid swiftly arched backwards. The back of his skull connected with Val's jaw with a sickening crack. Val howled in pain and clutched his bleeding mouth as Sid staggered onto his feet, his ears ringing from the collision. Adrenaline pumped through his veins as Sid returned to a fighting position with a rabid grin.
Don't underestimate me, old man. Fighting is the one thing I excel in.
From the crowd, Cole watched the fight breathlessly, his brow knotted with anxiety and worry. Hey, Nighty, you've been in a lot of sparring matches, right? How does this one look to you? Huh? Artemi? He turned around to spot Artemi fully distracted as she scanned through the crowd with a nervous frown.
That necrotic presence from earlier. Why can't I feel it anymore? I didn't see anyone leave from the crowd. Something is afoot. I am absolutely sure of it.
You're still worried about that?
The presence of dark magic is not something to be simply ignored, Sir Cole.
Artemi squinted, completely ignoring the clash between Sid and Val while observing the crowd around them suspiciously. She was missing something. Out of the corner of her eye, Artemi spotted someone approaching the bidding table. Someone wearing a cloak? Artemi blinked and rubbed her eyes. She was having trouble looking directly at them. Her vision became unfocused whenever she attempted to stare at this stranger. Perhaps this was a spell? Artemi had read about the existence of magic that lowered people's awareness of the caster, even amongst a crowd. Everyone else here was entranced by the boisterous fight within the ring, paying no attention to this cloaked figure as they approached the bidding table. Not even the judge noticed this figure's presence despite standing almost right beside them. Artemi's eyes watered and she rubbed them again. She tried her best to focus on this figure out of the corner of her field of view. The figure glanced around as though surveying the area. Most suspicious. They covertly reached a hand out from under their cloak, their gaze trained on the glistening ruby on the table. Artemi immediately slammed her fist against her table and stood up.
Halt! Thief!
The entire room fell silent. The figure froze, their hands still outstretched. As the crowd slowly realized what was happening, the judge and a dozen other fighters approached the figure furiously.
Hold it right there. We don't take kindly to thieves here.
The cloaked figure swore loudly and glared at Artemi from under their hood. This could have passed quietly, without a scene. You have forced my hand. A flash of red light suddenly erupted from the figure's hand, filling the room with a sinister crimson glow. The crowd's shrieks and hollers echoed against the stone walls as people scrambled back in surprise. Then the room was silent. Artemi grimaced as the light slowly disappeared and she unshielded her eyes.
Who was that? Is everyone all right?
There was a groan as Artemi turned around. My head. Why is the room spinning so much?
Sir Cole, are you all right?
Hey, lady. You should really stop messing with that cloaked fellow over there. Stop being so troublesome.
Huh? Is this some sort of mind control spell?
Artemi glanced around, panic rising. The rest of the crowd began picking themselves off of the ground, clutching their heads and muttering incoherently. Sure enough, everyone's eyes contained the same sinister red glow.
Interesting. To have resisted my spells so easily. You truly are the creator's chosen. It is best that I finish my business quickly.
The cloaked figure pointed a commanding finger towards Val at the center of the fighting ring.
You, bring me the rest of the rubies.
From within the fighting ring, Sid groaned and clutched his head in pain. His thoughts swam like a whirlpool of dread. It was becoming difficult to focus or stay conscious. Something was weaving into the inside of his skull. Huh? What was he doing again? Doesn't matter. That person in the brown cloak. You should probably listen to whatever they say. They seem to know what's going on. Sid's groans of pain faded as he stumbled onto his feet at a drunken pace. Beside him, Val was in a similar state as he stood up with unsteady feet.
This spell always makes them so slow and brainless. Though I suppose this isn't much of a downgrade for you peasants. You, the crocodile. Hurry up and bring me the rubies.
As you command. Here is the ruby you seek.
Val reached into his pocket and pulled out a large, glistening ruby. Like a zombie, he slowly bumbled across the fighting ring towards the cloaked figure. As Val approached, the cloaked figure immediately snatched the ruby out of the crocodile's hand.
This is it. Where are the rest of them?
One was lost. Another was bought by an unknown noble.
Wait! You've lost them!
The figure's voice hissed with irked fury.
You peasants are utterly useless. Do you have any idea what these rubies contain? What am I saying? Of course you don't.
The figure shook their head in disbelief.
I suppose you have fools.
The figure reached out to grab the remaining ruby on the bidding table. Their fingers slipped through the gem like smoke as the ruby disappeared into wisps of magic. A minor illusion.
Boy!
That little hyena must have stolen it off of the table and switched it with an illusion when nobody was looking. The cloaked figure whipped their head towards the other side of the room in utter fury. They pointed a shaking finger at Cole.
You lying son of a bitch! Hand me the other ruby!
Across the room, Cole groaned mindlessly as he thumbed through his pockets. After a moment, he pulled out the ruby that he had previously pickpocketed from the table while Val wasn't looking. The hyena mumbled drunkenly and stumbled across the room.
Here's that ruby I stole. Here? Dispel magic!
A powerful bolt of static electricity suddenly coursed through Cole's veins and snapped him awake. He jumped backwards, hair standing on end.
Ow! That fucking hurt! Huh? What's happening? Why is everyone's eyes all red and glowy?
Cole clutched his head and glanced around the room in confusion, as though he's just woken from a deep sleep.
There's no time to explain. Prepare yourself, Sir Cole.
The cloaked figure took a step back in surprise.
What is the meaning of this?
A bolt of lightning ripped through the air and struck the bidding table, narrowly missing the figure by an inch. The cloaked figure whirled around to see where the lightning came from. Artemi reared back and readied another crackling, guiding bolt in her hand, her eyes deadly serious.
Undo your control over the people of this establishment and surrender immediately. Let me assure you, my next attack won't miss.
The cloaked figure stared at the rumbling, lightning javelin in Artemi's hand and laughed softly.
Silly girl, you think me a fool?
They snapped their fingers. Suddenly, Val, along with dozens of people from the audience, stumbled forward and surrounded the figure in a shield of bodies. Artemi growled and lowered her hand.
You despicable little! To use bystanders in such a vile fashion! What's wrong, oh chosen one? Didn't you say you were to strike me down? I'm certain the church wouldn't mind if you fried a few not-so-innocent civilians in the crossfire. Do not mock me, scoundrel! Dispel magic! Counterspell.
Artemi flinched and fell back as her magic was interrupted. It felt as though someone had drenched her to the bone with ice-cold water.
You okay, Nighty? I am fine. Though it appears spellcasting won't be very effective against this foe.
The mind-controlled crowd began to advance towards the two of them, arms outstretched and growling viciously. Val and Sid were among the controlled. The two large fighters leapt over the fighting ring fence and joined the crowd in their threatening approach.
You can make this easier for everyone involved. Hand over the ruby, and I will happily release all these captives. What do you say, little chosen one?
Artemi growled and raised her shield. She couldn't draw her sword against these civilians. They were being manipulated. It would not be right to strike them down, even in self-defense. Artemi felt Cole cower behind her, gripping her shoulder anxiously. He does not appear to be very effective in direct combat. Defending him in the midst of a fight will prove difficult. The odds of this situation were simply not in their favor.
Sir Cole! Huh? Hey! What are you doing? Get your hands off me, you little...
Artemi quickly holstered her shield and grabbed Cole, hoisting the smaller man over her shoulder.
Hold on!
With Cole in tow, Artemi made a mad dash through the crowd, barreling over several people as she charged across the room. Before the cloaked figure could issue any commands, the two of them had already disappeared down the back hallways.
What? How did an entire crowd of you fail to catch two measly idiots?
The cloaked figure jabbed their finger towards the hallway.
Catch them and bring me the ruby. On your heads be the consequences should you fail.
Everyone in the fight ring murmured in a daze and followed the cloaked figure's directions. Their eyes retained the sinister red glow of the figure's control.
As you command.
Will do.
Artemi and Cole skid to a stop as the sound of the angry crowd echoed through the narrow hallway. All those mind-controlled people will reach them soon.
Sir Cole, you are familiar with the layout of this building, yes? What is the best place to hide and formulate a plan? Well, let me down and maybe I'll tell you. Oof! Oh, my apologies. I'm afraid I'm rather anxious at the moment.
Cole picked himself off of the floor with an indignant scoff. We can't just hide in a random room. Those folks will probably be searching through every nook and cranny. We'll be found out eventually. Here, move aside. Cole raised his hands, sparks of illusory magic flickering between his fingertips. Prestidigitation! All the candles in the hallway were immediately snuffed out. It was so dark, Artemi could scarcely see her own hand in front of her face. Confused shouting and yells reverberated through the dim hallway, along with the sounds of angry men stumbling into each other.
Ah, I understand. This is an excellent plan, Sir Cole.
Not yet. Minor illusion. The door to Clyde's office instantly disappeared in wisps of magic, leaving behind a solid stone wall.
Incredible! My education at the church never covered illusion magic. I never thought it could be so versatile.
They should keep them busy for a while. Those guys aren't very smart when they're being controlled. Come on, let's head inside. Artemi and Cole let out sighs of relief as the door to Clyde's office snapped shut behind them. And not a moment too soon. Heavy footsteps flooded the hallway as the mind-controlled crowd caught up to them.
Where did they go? I can't see a damn thing. They must be hiding in one of the rooms. Search them.
This was met with monotone hollers of agreement. Cole and Artemi pressed their bodies against the door in anticipation of a forced entry, but none came. The crowd had ran into all of the rooms except theirs thanks to Cole's illusion magic.
Phew. It appears we have them fooled for now. Are you all right, Sir Cole?
Cole scoffed. Does it look like I'm all right? I blacked out for a moment during Sid's fight with Val, then I get zapped awake. And then I find an angry, mind-controlled crowd chasing me. What's the big idea?
Well, they wouldn't be chasing you if you hadn't attempted to steal that ruby from under Val's nose with your illusion magic.
I wasn't gonna take any chances. As Papa always says, we don't fight fair, we fight to win.
That is dubious advice, to say the least.
Cole pulled the large triangular ruby out of his pocket and waved it smugly in Artemi's face. If I hadn't stolen this, that hooded fellow would have succeeded in whatever horrible thing they were planning to do here. I'd say this was a pretty smooth move on my part. Cole squinted at the office door. Who was that hooded fella anyway? You got any ideas? Artemi shook her head dejectedly.
I haven't a clue. It is clear that they are after the rubies from the prince's crown, and that they are a powerful mage. Defeating them will prove difficult, especially when they have everyone in the fighting ring under their control. I hope to retreat and buy ourselves some time to formulate a plan.
Artemi sighed and hung her head dejectedly.
I am ashamed to say I was unable to free Sir Sid from that mage's control before we escaped. Oh, may the Creator keep him safe while we sort things out.
Hey, at least you got me to safety. Could have been a lot worse. A low groan suddenly reverberated from the back of the office. Someone had stood up from behind the couch, clutching their head in a daze.
This feels worse than my hangover from last week. What happened?
Artemi shrieked and covered her eyes.
Ah! Sir Clyde! Please go make yourself decent!
What are you folks doing in my office? Cole rolled his eyes and patted a horrified Artemi's shoulders. Cover up your bits, Clyde. I know you like being nude when I'm around, but keep it in your pants when we have company. Clyde blinked blankly, his wits slowly returning. Oh, right.
I guess clothes are a good idea.
Hurry up, please!
And that's where I'm going to leave it this time. And oh, baby, did we get some fun shit in this episode. Okay, so let's review. Cole got the crown back through... Oh my god, the most soul-crushing thing that he could have possibly done. And I swear, when I first read this, I was like, Jesus, Cole, okay. And we get to see in, like, scenes like these, how well Shirokoi balances the ridiculously fucking deep, gut-punching moments, and having them instantly, like, translate into the most ridiculous fucking humor ever, and it doesn't feel like it just completely, like, invalidates the vibe of the previous scene, or feels forced, or just, like, a break in the immersion. No, like, you are there, and it's just like, every time something dark and gut-punching happens, the universe balances it as if it's a universal law. As if it's a universal law that just gets balanced with comedy. And it just works together so well. It really helps to, like, not... Like, to keep the story flowing from one into the other. Because you've got Sid with his little fucking I'm not gay identity crisis. And I'm sorry to say it, you absolutely are, my friend. You 100% are. And then you've got poor Artemi in the middle. And I love her so much. We got the Artemi and Cole team up now. Because Sid is under mind control. Yeah, there's a lot of mind control actually in this episode, and something that I'd like to point out that I actually only really clocked whenever I was reading it now is, ugh my head, why is the world spinning so much, is a direct, like a link between Clyde and Cole. The exact same thing happens to both of them, and the why is the world spinning so much line, especially, is like direct callback. I don't know whether or not that was intentional. Shirokoi, you can probably end up telling me, if you watch this, whether or not that was intentional. But I think if it was intentional, it was really fucking clever. I absolutely loved that. It's Cole getting a taste of his own medicine. That's my favorite thing in this story. When Cole does some shenanigans, the story checks him and doesn't let him away with it without consequences. It just makes for such an interesting character and like such an interesting dynamic, like an interaction between character, story, and world. Because you've got a character who partakes in his bullshit, the narrative checking him on it, and then expressing that through the world around him. It's really genius, and it only gets more genius as the story progresses. Oh my god, I can't wait for the next episode. And I could have just sat and recorded all the way until the end of the chapter at this point, but like, I have to break this up. I can't just go. And because then I would be uploading like an hours long video, and ain't nobody got time for that. But yeah, I'm gonna leave this episode here. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll be leaving links as I usually do to where you can support the project and the writer, and I'll be leaving links as I usually do to where you can support me. I'll be leaving my Twitter account if you want to go and follow that. I've got a coffee if you would like to donate to that, and maybe you might like this video, subscribe to the channel, all those things that YouTubers tell you to do these days. But yes, that is more than enough rambling out of me, for now. This has been Pink Wisp, reading Temptation's Ballad. Thank yous very much for watching, and I'll see yous in the next one. Take care.